See this move? Now you do. Resource management. Most people would say that it matters little to DK. Giant Punch disagrees. Punch greatly enhances every other option DK has, the asterisk being that it must be charged. This adds to the nuance of the character and forces both players to work around Punch's strengths and weaknesses. It controls the mid-range very well through option coverage and ends combos with great force. This singular move makes DK a character. Not a viable one, mind you, but a character nonetheless. Before we look at the uses of Punch, we must figure out how to get it. Opportunities to charge grant you access to your most important tool. Depending on the matchup, you'll either have Punch more often than not, or you'll have to rely on the 2 handouts per game that dying gives you. Even so, you have a lot of places where you can charge a little bit. You can move in or out while charging with a jump even. Getting every possible micro opportunity may seem fruitless in the short term, but it'll eventually add up to getting that one golden chance to turn the tables. Charging Punch in neutral involves more than the small opportunities. The macro behind charging is important as well. The best opportunity arises from a camping opponent. They're practically giving you a free charge by sitting there doing nothing. Some characters want to sit back, but the threat of allowing you to have Punch can be enough to push them towards you. If the opponent aggresses on you in such a way that bars you from gaining Punch, that puts you in a bit of a dilemma. When time is short, you must choose between defending against the opponent now or hoping to gain that little bit of gold for later. You don't really have to charge Punch in neutral though. You have a lot of time to charge if you've already gotten a hit. Opportunities to charge become both much more common and potent. If you're an advantage, but have little else to do, charging is a great way to spend the time. Here lies the biggest problem with charging Punch, the opportunity cost of not pushing yourself onto the opponent. This doesn't really matter in situations where charging is all you're really able to do, like if you have Mr. Game & Watch off stage, but it's redundant to charge a kill move when you could be killing the opponent. You also wouldn't want to spend a significant amount of time charging Punch against a character that has a scarier charge move, like Samus's Charge Shot, though this is a bit matchup specific and somewhat subjective. Once you have Punch, you may be tempted to use it in a very particular way. A way in which I absolutely despise. Using Punch exclusively as a hard punish should be a crime. Will DK players stop doing it after I tell them to? I fucking doubt it, but a thinker can still dream. Just using Punch as a hard punish wastes the move's potential. You can be using Punch in so many ways and you decide to only use it in one? Pathetic. Using Punch as a strong punish is valid though, since it's DK's most powerful punish that's still feasible in a match. Its ability to be used at any time further allows the move to be very good at this. If your opponent chooses that one option you were looking for, they're more than likely dead. Therefore, to use Punch in this way, you need to put the opponent in a situation where your prediction is more likely. This means putting the opponent in disadvantage. Even if the opponent avoids situations where Punch is practically guaranteed, this often costs valuable resources such as their jump. Frame traps are your friend, since even if you can't punish them, you've still either wasted their double jump or gotten them to air dodge. If they air dodged, you can either punch them directly or hit them with a move that combos into Punch, like Dare. You don't even need to hit them with Punch, you can just hit them and put them back above you. Once their double jump is gone, they best have some kind of character specific option or they're dead if you play the position right. While platforms weaken this strategy, they don't nullify the general idea. Using Punch to cover options in neutral solidifies DK as the king of mid-range interactions. Punch covers so many holes in DK's game plan because of how many options it invalidates and how good its risk-reward is. Once you start liberating Punch in areas other than advantage, it really opens your eyes on what's really possible with this character. The biggest thing that Punch gives DK in the mid-range is safe option coverage. Without Punch, there's very little DK can do to force the opponent to pick a specific option. DK is often the one guessing to some extent, even if the guess is in his favor. This is because each of DK's options has very clear counterplay that only requires the opponent to pick one of a few very broad options. If DK has Punch stocked up, this dynamic changes entirely. There is now a grounded move that covers most ways the opponent is able to approach DK, and is safe unless the opponent has a hard read. The opponent can react, but only with shield, which puts them in a really bad position. In fact, let's go over why blocking punch is a death sentence. To start, it's completely safe in every matchup, point blank. This alone does wonders for DK, since being safe on block occurs rarely for him, and even more rarely at such an absurd spacing. There's plenty more to it. DK gets shield pressure from this. Very good shield pressure, mind you. The safety, spacing, and shield damage culminate into one of the scariest on-block situations in the game. The opponent straight up can't hold shield after a blocked punch, since anything DK does will either poke or just break the fucking thing like an anime game on release. Any option the opponent does can and will get absolutely wrecked by a DK player who understands just how fucked the guy who had the gall to block is. Most options can actually be covered by pressing another attack. The only thing that can stop DK from mashing is some kind of good out of shield option that will hit DK for just being an idiot. It's only a good idea to do this because every other option the opponent might have is just awful. Sadly though, some people will refuse to give their due respect. I challenge any DK player to punch someone's shield and to immediately do GSK. This will catch 99% of players at least once if they haven't seen it. Now that we've established that the opponent should try to never shield punch, it's time to get to the real meat. If the opponent does anything that doesn't directly cover punch, they are getting hit. The list of what will punish punch is actually quite small, and these options are otherwise bad. The only reliable way to beat punch is to go over with a full hop. Not a short hop, punch will hit that. Full hop. Now you're above DK if he decided to hold back. The other option is to dodge through it with intangibility. However, if you're doing a spot dodge or roll against DK, guess what else he can do to blow you up for that? Hell, he can just change his timing and punch you anyway. Have I mentioned that punch is good at covering options? Using punch raw is cool and all, but it hardly guarantees a hit. You risk losing both your punch and position by using it. That is, unless you confirm it. My boy, combos into punch accentuate the importance of conservation. Liberation is good, but there is no freedom without laws, as a high school history teacher would say. Confirms into punch delete the opponent in match applicable ways. Just about everything DK has can come into punch at some point, and even more can set up situations where it's likely. People underrate down tilt because of its unsafety on hit, but all of the good this move provides goes entirely under the radar. It pokes incredibly well due to its range and safety when spaced. The trip transforms the move from mildly annoying to incredibly scary. Imagine dying at 40 because you had the nerve to play footsies against the king. Comboing into down tilt is also a valid strategy, and can turn what would normally just be advantage into a kill. Even though it's based on chance, the amount of consistent early kills down tilt can give you is something other heavyweights could only hope to gain through a patch. Using this move to poke or out of a combo and then reacting to a trip with punch has deadly rewards, but dealing with the devil never ends well. First, there is unsafety on hit. It's normally a trivial factor when the move is spaced, and at the percent it's killing, the move is generally safe though. But combined with the fact that sometimes a spaced down tilt will just cause punch to whiff, it's a bit annoying. The real issue I have with this move is the element of chance. The ability to combo into punch from down tilt is reliant on a coin flip that's slightly in the opponent's favor for some reason. This almost kills the move outside of neutral. Furthermore, sometimes the move you use to combo into down tilt will trip the opponent, completely ruining your entire confirm. This is frustrating for so many reasons, but to keep it brief, chance sucks. Something that will always be there to give you a kiss on the forehead and tuck you into bed at night is dare. While the move is difficult to land, it's incredibly reliable. Dare hits the opponent at 20%, they must perish. Dare can be landed in numerous ways. Primarily an advantage, the move can actually be quite easy to land if you know what you're doing, though missing it can be devastating since you can still lose advantage. If there's any solace to it, you at least didn't waste punch doing so. In tech situations, dare is beautiful. If the opponent got hit at the edge of a platform or the stage, the dare becomes a pure 50-50. Even if you guess wrong, you're still plus, so the risk isn't too high. While you could use something like GHS to cover all options, a dare read on the opponent's tech has incredibly good risk reward and should be done more often. Alright, well, you might want something a bit safer. This is fair. That's why God made frame traps, my son. Any sort of full hop up air, nair, or bair can be followed by a dare if the opponent decides that dying is preferable to the vortex. Alternatively, using a double jump aerial into dare is useful for when there are platforms. Oh, you want to nuke someone in neutral. The people of Hiroshima did get what's coming to them after all. Dare punishes any of the opponent's options, if your mind keeps up. While reacting to something with a landing dare from a grounded position is improbable at best, being in the air allows you to very easily notice a whiffed attack and punish. Constantly jumping will get you hit against an opponent who's looking for it, but if you know the opponent will opt for something that will cover the ground like a burst option or projectile, then trying to jump over it and punish is a good idea. Some attacks can even be punished with a landing dare on block, though they're about as common as the people who use them often enough for you to get the chance to take advantage of it. It's possible to guarantee a punch without the need for frame advantage. All you have to do is put the opponent in a tech situation. When the opponent hits the floor from tumble, they become vulnerable from frames 21 to 25 no matter what they do. Punch's large hitbox means that it covers a lot of options within this window. While tech rolls avoid punch in certain matchups and scenarios, you cover a lot of options with this one move. In some matchups, you're even able to cover all options given the right setup. There are two situations where punch becomes significantly better as a tech chase: a platform and the corner. In these two situations, punch becomes your best friend if you apply the correct setups. Platforms ignore the opponent's tech roll distance entirely, and punch will cover all options because of this if the platform is small enough. While some characters will be able to roll in even if they're cornered and force a 50-50, a cornered opponent will generally get hit in some capacity if you position yourself correctly. Even if the opponent's character will get hit by the inside of punch, that's still a win for you since it means they get thrown to the opposite corner off stage anyway. When you get the tech situations just right, the opponent will be wondering why Nintendo decided to buff this move of all things.
Alright, here's an editor's note. The more I try doing this, the less I believe in it. And it's not because punch is bad here, it's just that DK doesn't really have any good way of setting up a tech situation, like at all. And I really don't feel like fishing for tech situations for like a week when I've already been making this video for way too long. Yeah, so I'm just using my own lab clips as sort of like a concept, because I don't want to spend more time than I have to.
Punch hits hard. That's why using it wastes something of great importance: the threat of punch. Your monkey fist of fury stops the opponent from doing anything without first considering its existence. This means that whether your opponent is getting hit by punch, it's always benefiting your play, even if indirectly. If the opponent is attempting to work around punch, they limit their options heavily. This much has already been established. The problem with everything punch requires the opponent to do is that it means being as far away from DK as possible. This is catastrophic unless they play a character specifically designed to be at that range. When the opponent gets cornered or put above you because they wanted to avoid punch, well, the opponent lets you do whatever you want. Safely taking space or using the opponent's jump as an opportunity to set up for a juggle already punishes the opponent very hard for focusing too much on this one move. Rushing DK down answers the question of what the hell you're supposed to do about punch. DK needs room to breathe, and this applies to punch as well. Even though there's a lot of armor, that doesn't matter if you're quick. In fact, one of the most underrated options here is to just grab DK. While this needs somewhat of a read on the punch, and grabs tend to hold up like Rucka Rucka Ali, they beat punch most reliably of just about any other option at the opponent's disposal. Holding W and doing it well will lead to punch along with just about everything else DK has, rendering almost useless if DK doesn't find a way to maintain his space. So then, if you know the opponent wants to rush you down, what do you even do? There is no real good answer here if the opponent plays a fast character with good approaching tools. If they don't, you have enough speed and range to not allow the opponent close enough for rushdown to even really matter. If we're talking about someone like Greninja, you're still not helpless. You still have the ability to make hard reads and guess right against these opponents, and most of your mid-range mix still works. Here, deciding whether you want to defend or attack stands above all as the most important choice against an aggressive opponent. Playing passively in the face of someone who wants to approach can work. You simply need to make sure the opponent doesn't expect it. People underrate meeting aggression with aggression. It forces the opponent to think about it in aggressive, more passive ways, which allows you to build space in order for you to be more passive if the time calls for it. If done right, it makes fights look more like a kaiju battle than anything you'd see in Smash. All of this said, don't intentionally hold out on punch if you find an opportunity to use it. The entire point of using other options is that the opponent is acting in such a way where using punch would be counterproductive. Only hold off if you believe the opponent will work around your strongest option. If that belief isn't there, well, yeah, go ahead and bludgeon their skulls with your murder button. Punch enriches every single option DK has, and I hope to have conveyed that well. Even the best of DK's player base has yet to properly utilize the move's fullest potential. People underrate punch heavily, which speaks more to how much the move adds rather than to how much people talk down on it. With this guide, we move one step towards 20 DK, and I can only dream of meeting you on the other side. It's one fucking move, and I haven't even talked about everything.
Somebody's